Yeah. Okay. So today we'll talk about the lens distortion. Okay, lens distortion is one of the very important thing. Like whenever we do a match move or 3D tracking, right? So lens distortion plays a very important role. So whether our track, like it will solve properly or not, or whether will when we are introducing the CG element, whether it will match it or not. So what we have to do, we have to correct the lens distortion, and again we have to put back the lens distortion back to the film, because other scene has a lens distortion and particular this scene is not having a lens distortion. Will you will get to know. So that is why we have to remove it, put it, and again we have to put the lens distortion back. Okay. So first of all, what is lens distortion? Anyone have any idea about the lens distortion? Guys, anyone is having any information, any thing that they know about the lens distortion? Any idea? Okay, fine. So when we talk about the lens distortion, lens distortion is a distortion happens because of the lens. Okay, which when we capture the lenses, right? When we capture the footage from the lenses, right? Whether it is a photograph or whether it is a video, right? Any of the things we do get the distortion, right? Sometimes it is not visible with the eyes because it is very minor. Sometimes it is very large. Okay, if you very basic example is a lens type, fish lens. Okay, whenever we capture something with the fish lens, like something 14 mm, 16 mm lenses, so what happens is that time you will find on the edges, you will find there is a, the image is not straight, it is little bit of circular. Okay, so this is called the lens distortion. Okay, that happens because of the lens. So basically lens distortion is of three types. Okay, so first one is barrel. Okay, then pin cushion, and the last one is a mustache. Okay, so these are the three types of lens distortion. Now, what are these? Right, when the lens distortion happens, now suppose there's a thing. So it's very simple. So you have a barrel, you have a pin cushion, and you have a mustache. So if the footage, normal footage you will get, it will be something like this. If we put it in the checkerboard, right, it will be something like this. It will very straight lines. Okay. So when the barrel type of pin cushion happen, barrel type of lens distortion happen, so what you will get that it will be the, if you have seen the barrel, right, the barrel has something like this. Okay, the lines will be something like this. So this type of lens distortion is a barrel lens distortion. Okay, now pin cushion is the, it will give you the cushion type. Okay, so here it will be like this. Okay, so here it will be like this type of lens distortion. When we talk about the mustache, mustache means you will have a lens distortion, both barrel and pin cushion present in the scene. So the footage will be, okay, something like this. You will get a mustache. So these are the three types of uh, lens distortion. One is a barrel, second one is a pin cushion, third one is a your mustache. Okay, so this happens very much thing, like if you have a lens, suppose 18 to 35 lens, you will get maximum you will get is a barrel type of lens distortion. And if you have a lens which is say 70 to 200 lens, you will get mostly you will get the pin cushion, and in between you can get the mustache. Okay, like lens below 18 like fish eye view, you will get a mustache. Okay, is a fish eye. So fish eye you will get is the mustache. Okay, so these are the different types of lens distortion present in the image. Okay, where how you can find it is very simple. If you say, if I say So you can see this image, right? If you can see this image, you will find, okay, there is a distortion is present. You can see this. This is a very much fisheye view. This should be, image should be like this, but it has an angle. The lines which should be straight, it is not straight. So here we can say that this is a, you have both like a parallel mode. Okay, so parallel type, and it is basically is a mustache because you have a this type also, and you have a this type also, right? So this is the mustache type of lens distortion. If you see another image, you can see this. Okay, looks very similar to each other, but again, you have very fine type of lens distortion in there. Okay, so this is like different types of lens distortion. You will get it. This is the one of the image. Okay, you can see this. This is a pin cushion type of lens distortion. Okay, so this is also there. So this type of image is very common. You will get it, right? So this is how it's work, right? So which is if you are using a rectilinear glasses, right? So you will get a undistorted image, means lens distortion will not be present, right? And when you are using the normal your concave convex lenses, you will get a distortion. You can see this very example is this. You can see this 8 mm. You can see this, the lines are not straight. It has squeezed it, right? So this has a lens distortion. 30 mm, 12 mm, 16 mm, 35 mm, and the 85 mm, right? So you will get different types of result you will be getting with the each lenses. Okay, so that is why we'll say anything between the say 35 to 85, right? You will get very less lens distortion. Other than that, in other lenses, like if you go above 70 mm and if you go below 35 mm, you will get more lens distortion in the scene. Clear? So you can see this. This is the undistorted. This is the pin cushion. You have this type of line. There is a barrel, means bulging out, right? So that is the barrel, and combination of these two, you will get it. That is mustache. Okay. Fine. So same way, lens distortion you have in each of the things. Like mustache, you will get it very seldom, right? Maximum you will get is a barrel and pin cushion type of lens distortion. Now, what happens is the basic funda is that if your image is this, okay, this is the center. The center, from center, the more you will go away, the more distortion you will get. Okay, if the lens distortion is there in the image. Okay, the more away you will go, the more lens distortion you will get it. Okay, so what happens is the pin cushion and the barrel, when they are present in the image, they work mathematically as a quadrant. Means every time they will increase 4 times from the center. Okay, but the more there will be, there 4 times it will increase it. So that is why you will find that maximum of the software, right? If you say Nuke or if you say 3D equalizer, you will get a different types of lens distortion. If I say like 3D equalizer and Nuke lens distortion is options are basically same, because Nuke follows the what 3D equalizer as a lens distortion, and basically 3D equalizer lens distortion is the best lens distortion present in current any of the software. So if I'll say lens distortion, right? So you will find that you have different types of lens distortions are there. You have a degree 4, degree 8, degree 6, and degree 12 also. So basically, the if you have a fisheye, you will use the degree 8 and all. For normal footages, degree 4 is much more better, and that is what the standard which we say it also. Okay, the standard is a degree 4. Okay, the yeah, like between 35 to 80 mm, you will get a degree 4 type of lens distortion. If you're using anamorphic or anything, then you will get a degree 8 or degree 6 type of lens distortion, because that is more angular. Okay, so that is anamorphic. Like, so we are talking about the radial lenses, means the concave and convex. So radial will have a more of a degree 4. Fisheye will have a degree 8. Okay, so this is always remember, this is the what they offer. Okay, so this is the type of lens distortion. So in industry, what they do is to correct to identify the lens distortion, they use a checkerboard. Okay, So what they basically do is whenever there is a shooting is there, if you want, see, if you have a camera, you can go and find out on, okay, I have this camera, I'm using this lens. So what type of lens distortion settings will be there? So they will give you. But if you want 100% accurate result, what you do is you should have about something around 10 by 10 inch or 12 by 12 inch of even bigger than that. Like suppose, say 4 feet, 3 feet, 3 by 3 feet, right? That much big checkerboard should be there. You bring that checkerboard in front of the lens, right? Capture one frame. That one frame capturing lens thing, when you bring it in the your new call the 3D class or any of the software, what they will do, it will automatically identify, okay, what type of lens distortion is present and it will correct. So that is the best way to do the lens distortion. And in case if you don't have the checkerboard shot from that particular camera, so then you have a two methods. One is you manually draw the lines. Okay, if you can see if any is angular or any type of thing, if you can identify there's a lens distortion, you can do draw lines manually and you can correct it. If not, then you can ask computer to do automatic calculation. Okay, but in the both the process, automatic calculation will not give you the 100% accurate result. Okay, somewhat around it will reach around 80% around result. Okay, so that is the lens distortion. Okay, so when we talk about lens distortion in our software PF track, okay, so let me bring this footage only. Okay, so this is the footage is there. Okay, so first thing is when I get my thing is I'll go to the camera and say lens distortion. Okay, this is my lens distortion settings. Okay, now I say, first thing is the distortion model, means which type of model. As this software is very old, so it doesn't have that much. So this is use the what type of lens you are using. So it is asking basically what type of lens you are using. So automatically it will correct that. Suppose I'm using 15 by 40. See, automatically it has corrected it. Okay, so means you have to tell the computer what type of lens you're using it. None, none. So if you don't know or you want to do manual, so you can do it manual. So user specified. So when we are in user specified or I don't know none, I can always go and say auto detect. Auto detect, what it will do, it will create a line there. You can see this, it has created a line. Okay, so on the basis of line, it will try to identify that there is a lens distortion is present or not, right? So here I have four options, right? I can enable everything, right? First is a distortion center, means anything percentage, anything I can distort the center. If you can find there's a distortion in the middle, so you can increase this value to do the effect, right? But when you are changing the center distortion, means it will not have a decimal, means my distortion I'm not taking from the center, I'm taking a little bit away from the center, right? So that is the point. So this is the distortion center. If you want to change it, you can change it. Okay, next is the lower order radius. Lower order radius means I'm either using the pin cushion or I'm using the, so one is the pin cushion, one is the barrel. So see, I'm using the pin cushion. I'm giving the pin cushion. If I want to correct the pin cushion type of lens distortion, I always can use the lower order radial. Okay, lower order radial means I'm using the pin cushion, right? If I'll go to the negative, it will give you the barrel. Okay, so it is basically I'm using the higher order. Higher order is your barrel type of lens distortion. Okay, so this is what I can correct it. Where if I'm thinking, okay, my lens distortion is not correct, this is correct thing, so you can use it. Or this is correct thing, you can use it. So I can do the manual settings also. Okay, what type of lens distortion will be present here. Okay, then we have a decentering, like I want to change the center. Okay, X coordinate or the Y coordinate. Anything I can easily change it. Right? Then once it is done, you can close it. So my lens distortion I have done it, right? So we have seen one footage was there, right? Right. Suppose if I'll download this footage, I'll say lens. Okay, so I'll bring that footage now. So I'll go to the desktop. I'll try to find that footage. Yes. Okay, now I have this footage, right? And I want to correct the lens distortion. So I can go to the lens distortion and say auto detect, right? So it will try to detect the auto detect and it will try to do the changes, right? Okay, fine. Now what I can do, I can see this. This is my curve, right? So I'll make it straight. So change the, see, I'm changing it, right? Where you are getting the best output, you have to utilize them. Because this is having very high degree of lens distortion, right? Something around 2 it will come, most probably 2 to 3, I think. Right now I can see this, that lines are very much straight now. Okay, now you can see that lines are very much straight now. Okay, so this is how you have to correct the lens distortion. Then what we'll do is we'll crop the footage. Okay, we'll crop the footage. Okay, so this is my footage now. So we'll crop the footage and we'll use the lens distortion. So same thing, whether we have this software or whether we are using in the say Nuke, everywhere options are very same. Okay, the options are very same, whether in respective of whatever software we are using it. Only thing is the options will be a little different, but the procedure is very much same. Okay, so if I'll say this is my source, okay, so whether I am using any of the software, right, it doesn't depend, right? So we can easily do that, right? We can easily create my lines, right? Say that should be straight. So there's the manual process. So when you are doing a manual, right, you need at least 4 lines to be there. Okay, now everything is done. Now I can go ahead and say, right? So on the basis of that, automatically what it will do, it will try to solve the lens distortion. Okay, now you can see that it has solved it, right? Okay, it has corrected it. So you are doing from like this way, or you are doing so, both the processes are same. You will get the straight line and you will get the crop image. Okay, so whichever software you are working, maybe options are different, but the process is almost same what you do. Okay, so either you can do automatic process or you can do the manual process. Understood, everyone? Right?
Yes.
Next one is a descending. Descending, what it will do, it will just change your center. If you want to change the center, it will just change the center. Okay. If any point of view, if you have made a mistake, you can always say reset. It will always do. And if you want to remove this lines, clear auto lines. It will remove that line. Now this footage is ready to do work. Okay. It has been stretched. It has made the straight line. Our lens distortion is corrected. Every information is now correct for this. Clear? So this is what it is called is a lens distortion. Okay, so this is very like almost all the footage has a lens distortion because we for film we don't use any of the rectilinear glasses. Only for the photography we use the rectilinear glasses, right? It is also available where very very rare. Okay, like Nikon has some rectilinear lenses they have launched long back. Okay, so our radial for film we use only radial, right? So that is why we have two more types. One is radial, one is anamorphic, right? Both will have a lens distortion because both are the curvy in nature. Okay, so somewhat little or more you will get the lens distortion. Okay, so that is why it is always necessary before tracking. Please correct the lens distortion whenever you are doing the match move. Okay, because lens distortion can give you error more than 2 or 3 also. Okay, so that is why lens distortion is very important to do correction before tracking any of the footage. Clear, everyone?
Yes.
Understood what is lens distortion? Anyone is having any confusion, any question to ask for lens distortion? Guys?
No questions.
Okay. So this is what the lens distortion is, and it is very one of the important part of the lens distortion 3D tracking match moving. Okay. Right. So coming back, yesterday we saw, okay, we done some tracking and we have exported to the Maya, right? So let's say if I want to open that file, okay. So where it was in the faculty room. We have tracked files, faculty room, 3D camera tracking, export. I'll copy this file and I'll bring it to the Maya file. Right, you can bring it and I can save it here. Right, anything is fine. So what I'll do is I'll open this file. So I have Maya open. So let's bring the thing. So desktop. Faculty room. Okay. So now you can see these are the points which are called point clouds. Okay. So these are the points which are called the point cloud. Okay. And you will find I have a camera also, right? And you will find that my camera is moving also. You can see this. Camera is moving also. Right. So what I can do is now I can bring my footage. Okay. So I can grab my camera. Okay. I can grab my camera. I can go to the image plane, right? Camera image plane, right? This one. And I can bring my footage. So here I can say use image sequence. Where is the footage? I have to give the path. So I'll say desktop, faculty room, source footage, sequential file. This is my use image sequence, right? So now you can see that, okay, it has the animation and everything is there, right? So if I'll go to the camera view, right? So if I'll go to the camera view and see how the things look like, right? You can see this is the image. Okay, sometimes what happens is this type of problem will happen. So don't have to worry. select that camera, and you will get down is a you will get some settings in the camera is a near clip and the far clip plane. Okay, so you have to change that thing. That's it. So you will get near clip plane and the far clip plane. So increase the far clip plane. So what happened is, because this is the limit, maximum till 1000 only it will be visible. So I'll increase that far clip plane. So now your things can be visible much better. Clear? So this is how we can easily say that, right? So I'll go and see through my camera view. Okay. Now you can see this. Okay, from the camera view, I have very fine footage is there. Everything is fine, right? So now what I have to do is I have to place the object on this place, right? My grid is also there, right? I have set the origin? My origin is also there, right? Because this point I have set as the origin, right? So that is why it is there. So what I'll do is now, sorry. Oops, I am in the, okay. So I'll on the camera, feature 1 I'll select, which is here. Go to the perspective. Okay. Okay, go to the perspective. First thing what I have to do is I have to place an plane on which I can reside my object. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll create a plane. So my plane is there. Okay. So I'll remove the subdivision because I don't want that. Okay. I'll increase the size. I'll do a little bit of scaling. Fine. Now, again, select feature 1 and identify where it is. Okay, this one is the feature 1. Okay, so select this, go to the vertex, right? Select this vertex. Okay. Sorry, I want the move option. Press C button to snap it, right? And snap with this feature 1. Okay, this point. So vertex, select, press C. That when you press C, it will turn into circle. And
Sir, the soft selection is on. Maybe that's why.
no, maybe the point is far away from the, this point is far, a little away from the things.
Sir, try V for snapping.
Okay, so now I have to just check that it has snapped it on the particular what I want on that or in some other. Okay, fine. It has snapped on the same thing, right? Now I'll select feature 2, which was this side, right? Where is my feature 2? Somewhere here. Okay, so what I mean is object mode. I scale it. Fine, move. Now, which one is your feature 2? The middle one. Okay, the middle one is my feature 2. So vertex, select. I don't know which one it is. So I zoom it a little. Right, if it is tagged to the feature 2. Now my feature 3 will be this side. So the second one, vertex, select, done. I think it's snapped with the feature 3. Yes. Okay, so my 3 is done. Now 4, which is here. Right, so now I have to bring that file down first. Feature 4. Okay, so it's look like because it's in front of the camera, but when we go and see into the our camera view, it will be perfectly lined. Now we'll check it, how it is look like. If there will be a problem, it will show, it will flicker, right? So this plane will basically will act like if whatever object will put it, it will act like shadow and all everything it will reflect, but it will not render into the final scene because this is not my final object. Okay. So now what I'll do is I'll create one cone, right? So I'll create my cone. I'll bring it here or to make it enlarge. Fine. I'll have to put it here. Now it should be look like it is on the plane. So we have to go back to the perspective view. Right? Go back to the perspective view. You have to rotate it. E. W to move away. So it is not 100% perfectly rotated. So
Sir, just a small question.
yep.
Yeah. Can we copy the data of translate into with the cone? It can be easy a bit or not?
Which data?
Like in the channel box, we have translate and all things for plane, right? So can we copy that for the cone? Can it be a bit easy to adjust?
You can, but the like little bit of adjustment you have to do that with that also because it will just give you the plane position. Okay, you got the plane position. After that, you have to adjust a little bit. So you do by this way or that way, both are fine.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, welcome. So keep checking from every angle that it is decided perfectly or not. So it's looked like almost 80-90% it has been done. So let's check how it is looking like in a camera. Okay, so it is just in front of the camera, so that is why it is look like this way. Okay, so I'll change it now. So I'll just rotate it. Okay, so this problem, because the yesterday we have not solved the camera very accurately, so this problem will be there because there was two RMS error was there. So I told you before only that error should be very small, then only it will be reset. Okay, so this is what when we do, and it will look like there that okay, it has been totally there. But the thing is, you will find that this object is will not move with from that place. Okay, it will not move from that. It will look like it is static there. It was there only, right? So you know that time we created, like suppose if I'll create a ball circle which is here, and you will find that that ball will be there till the end. It will not move. Okay, so this is what lens draw I'm saying. This is what the match move is. So what happens is in a match move we put it say we track the scene. Now we have the object, we render the object. Now we'll bring that to the our composting software, Nuke, After Effects or whatever, and there we club with that the original footage and with this. Okay, we won't render the background here, and we won't render the supporting. Only the main object which we want, we will texture, render, writing, everything, and then we render it, and then we'll compose it into our composting software. Understood the process of the match move, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it totally depends on the how your camera is solved in the shift track. Okay. Now I can find there is a yesterday I told you that when we were tracking, right, that at the end we are having some problem. So that is why if you will find that at the end this is moving, it is not moving, it is rotating slightly. See, if I hold it, you will find that this object is rotating slightly. See, it has just rotated slightly, right? Means somewhere after 100 it has a problem. Okay, so that is why it is rotating slightly. See here. So that is the problem there. So that is why yesterday only I told that okay, the tracking is not being 100% correct. So that is why this problem is present in the sequence and will not get the very accurate result also. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. So this was the process of the match move from tracking to solving, then bringing it to the 3D software, placing your object, doing the texturing and all, then rendering it, then bringing back to the your composting file, and there you are. What you are doing, you are composing both together. When you are composing both together, there it will look like it is 100% accurate. Okay, so I'll like many of you know already has seen it, right? So this is the thing. See, this is the they for the sometimes what they do create some 3D object also to give the perfect shadow. Like suppose if I want to in this particular footage, it was not required, but when we want to do that, what they'll do instead of plane, what they'll do, they'll create full object here. Okay, because if you create full object, you will get it much better. And then they'll create wall also because the light which is coming from up is fine, but if the suppose the light is changed, the shadow will reflect there, then that has to be shown here. Okay, so then if you have something, then only that shadow will be there. So that is why they sometimes they create the dummy objects. Okay, and all this cone you can find it is a your what we say is a with the helpers. Like okay, we want to track it. Okay, we put this cone to just to find out okay my point is moving or not. Okay, so these are the test objects. Like this, many a times what happens, there is no now here you can place any of the car, right? There's a lens distortion correction. There's a question. So here you can see that this all object is the CG object. It was not there. Okay, so with the help of this 3D tracking, placing the plane, the corners to test it is correct or not, then putting it, then having lighting, rendering, then composition, color correction, and everything. Same way for this car also. See both the places this had been changed. Plane was there. Checker and wireframe. Okay, so as a match move artist, when you're going in industry, the what work you will do is you will take the footage, you will track it, solve it, okay, test it in the your tracking software, whichever software you're working, check it. Then you have to take it into the Maya, put this checkerboard, the cone, right? The cone was there. One test with the cone, then the checker box. Wherever you want to place the plane has to be in checker box, right? Wireframe render, take out the player blast and hand it over to the 3D team. Now they will place the object, modeling, texturing, everything they will do and they will render it. And then they will forward it to the your compositing tool. So your work is the bring it, take it to the Maya, test it, object, place one object, test it, everything is fine. When it is correct, then you have to transfer to the 3D team. Okay, so this is what the match move does, right? So this helps you to place any of the object whichever you want, CG object, very beautifully, and it looked like it is a part of the footage only. Right? Understood, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Anyone is
sir.
having any question, any doubt? Okay. Fine. Now suppose now there are more options are there, right? So when we do auto tracking, right? So sometimes what we want, we don't, I don't want any auto track feature should be there on this table, right? So what I'll do is I'll make a shape. Okay. Then what you have to do, you have to right click so that it will end the shape. Okay. I have made it right. Now what I can do is I can use this shape to either exclude it or to include it. Now when I do auto tracking, right? So go to the tracking parameters. Here I can tell that I'm saying a preview. You will find that none of the point will be there on the this shape. Right? So this is what is like, I don't want any track point. If you want to limit rate, right? Okay, some area you want to exclude it, you can easily do with the help of your shape. Clear? So this is what is like a good thing what we can do it, right? Okay, this will, with the help of this shape, I can limit. Okay, I don't want any of the auto track point should be there because this is a place where I have to track. Okay, or even what we can do is we can invert it. I want only track point here, right? So that also I can do that. Preview, only track points are here within the shape, no anywhere else. So both the time, both the things I can do to make the changes and I can do. So you have to right click and just say invert. Okay, so you can hide it, you can ignore it, you can easily do other changes also. Okay, now what happens is you have to animate it. Okay, so you have to always animate it. Okay, you have to animate. Okay, so automatically it will add the keyframe. Okay, so you have to animate it so that it will automatically do that. Clear? Understood the use of mask?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now next one is the color key. Color key, what it does, it will just give you option to like you want to add a key or you want to change the key, right? I can add any of the keys, right? So it just give you some options, the color space, what color space you want to really use it, right? You want to unchange it, the color, right? Now suppose I delete this first. Okay, I can invert it, right? All those any of the color which I'll take. So it is just give you the color key. So it's like we don't use it much. It is not of any that much uses there. Okay, so that is what it is. Then you have a optical flow. Now optical flow, what it does, this has the parameter. What it will do, it will just give you the how the camera is moving. It will just, it is just for the view purpose. So if I say start, you will find that, okay, computing optical flow for frames. So it is like a slow process, right? It will take time. What it will do, it will try to identify what type of movement or some error is there or something, any problem is there in the scene or not. Okay, so that is optical flow. So we'll wait to finish it. So it does take a lot of time depending on the more animated or more bigger the footage is, it will take more lot time to do the optical flow. So just wait for a few minutes. I think 2 to 3 minutes it will be over. So half is done. It is just it is used to just to identify the pre-process of a camera tracking, like how to identify just like okay how the camera will be moving in the scene. Okay, so on the basis of that you can make the things okay what you need to do or what is needed there in the scene. Few more frames. So almost finished now. Okay, done. So it will represent with the green dots, small lines. Now you can see this, the how the lines are present, right? So it will just give you, okay, these are the optical flow where what is possible to have, where you can get the points and how it will move around. So this is the what optical flow will give you. Okay, so it is just for the look purpose. It doesn't um, uh, impact your tracking or solving much. Okay, it is just to help the camera to identify the things. Okay, so it is not necessary you have to use the optical flow every time. Okay, so it is just for the gaining the information. Okay, what is the track and flow, what type of flow is there, right? It will just give you those. So when we say uh, optical flow motion, right, I can always make some circles, brushes are there. I want to make it smooth, flow of vectors, lines are there or not. So these are the settings which we can make it, right, to check. So it is just to use a point, right? So we have calculate flow. I can always say I have already calculated it, right? So that is the, and then you have option for track and flow. So it will track and flow, right? So after this, when I do the tracking, right, I have this flow, right? So now I can go ahead and I can say auto track footage. So automatically, so it will utilize that optical flow, not much, but yeah, a little bit finer. Now it will come backward. Okay, so this is what the track points are there. Right now you can use a lot of the scenes are there with the optical flow and all, right? So this is like just a usefulness, like, okay, just to see, okay, what type of scene I'm getting it with the optical flow. Okay, so it's like how the cameras are moving. So that is the just a display purpose. Okay, it doesn't impact your scene. It doesn't have any connections with the workflow. Okay, so it is just for the use. Now, yesterday we did the tracky, right? Okay, it will show you the error, right? So the more the error, like we don't have to remove any of the green. Some yellow is required, but no red should be required. So we have to remove till you are removing all the reds. That's it. Okay, so this is fine. Something around 0.6 or something. So then you have a track L is there. Now track L, what it does, it will give you the each track point. What is the length of the each track point? Okay, so you can see, okay, this is the track point of that. It started here, it finished here. Some is starting here and finishing here. So how the flow is, green is good, yellow is okay, red is danger. Means this track point is not very good, right? See, I can select this point, this is the track 001. So it just shows the timeline on the, so it's starting from 0 and it is there till frame number 105. After that, it is not there present in the scene. Okay, so this is, it will just show you the how the from where it is starting and where it is ending. So it is for that purpose only. Clear? Dope just to find out the your keyframes. Okay, dope sheet, it is just to use the find out the keyframes. Then you have a F curve. It is just for the uh, show the manual track points information, right? And after the solve, how it will be, right? So basically, we use more is a tracky, right? So that is the best thing which we use and where we do the correction and all. Okay, with the help of mask, we like in your older classes, you have learned the planar tracking and object tracking, right? So with the help of mask, we can do the mask track, object tracking only, right? I can limit, okay, only this area should be get tracked, right? I can limit that area and when it is tracking that area, and we can easily remove that object or we can add something on that object. So that is also possible when we are doing the your masking as an object, right? Okay. These are two options called scene orientation and the camera orientation. Scene orientation, camera orientation is when you solve the camera. Like on the basis of automatic tracking, I'm solving it. Okay, I'm not using any manual tracking currently. Fine. So I got it. So yesterday I told, okay, scene orientation is I can translate and rotate the grids, right? When I say camera orientation means on the basis of camera information, I can move the things here and there. Okay, my camera, I'm changing my cam. So on the basis of the camera, I'm moving the scene. Okay, so this both can be utilized to set up the scene. Okay, I can go and say this is my camera orientation. I can place in the depth. I can move this into the depth. Right? So I can always select any of the point. Right, so go to the auto features. Now suppose I have selected this 25. Okay, so I can always say scene orientation and I can move there and this thing. So the camera orientation is on the basis of the camera, this will move, and scene orientation on the basis of scene, the grid will move. Okay, so these are the two things which we can use it is. Right, then the last one is the new test object. I can drop any of the test object on any of the point. So here I can easily drop tall marker, create. So automatically it will create the tall marker here. Right? So sometimes we have to use both the scene orientation and the camera orientation to fix the grids here. So because this is a very simple shot, which is fine, but when we have a complex set of shot, we use both scene orientation, camera orientation to place the grid there, and then we can place the our object or test object, whatever it is. Okay. So once you are satisfied with your result, your error is less, then only you have to transfer the data into your 3D software. Okay. Then there is a depth map is there too. It is just to use to check the depth, how much the distance from the camera each portion will be. Right. So it is just to use, if I'll say start, it will initialize the tracking and it will generate the depth map. Okay. On the basis of the depth map, also sometimes like to place the test object and to place the grid and all, it is little bit easier. Again, depending on the scene to scene, if it is like very landscape scene, a very big ground or that type of ocean is there, then you can use the depth map to use it. So this is the depth map, particularly it will show you, okay, this is what the black and white. So it will just show you on the basis of black, white, and gray, like totally gray channels, right? So it will take a lot of time to generate the depth map because it will check each and every frame, right? And then it will generate the depth map. This is the frame number 1. Till now, only 2 frames has been done, 0 and 1. I am now on the frame number 2. So I'll just abort it. So this is what the depth map is. So I can use it, right? So basically, it is not of that much use. Okay. Okay, you have to delete the depth map. So it is not of that much use, but yeah, sometimes when you have very complex type of footage, that time only we use the depth map. Understood, everyone?
Yes.
Anyone is having any question, any problem? No?
Not now, I guess, when like we'll try maybe then.
Yeah, okay. So do one thing, try this till like import the footage, track it, solve it, check it with the test object. If it is fine, export it to Maya, try to drop an object and check it and render out the play blocks. Okay, so do this thing so that you will understand, okay, what is the process and how it is done. Okay, on the next workshop class, what we'll do one project from start to finish. I'll bring one footage where I'll track it, then I'll take it to the Maya, we'll drop one footage, this thing, and we'll render the play blocks. Okay, I'll show you one full process how we do from start to end, again with the different footage. And again, I'll show you the object tracking also, how we can track one object and we can use the information of that and we can put anything inside that. Clear?
Yes.
So please, everyone, please do the practice. Okay. If any question is there, anyone to ask? Okay, fine. So, Chandra. So if anyone is there to ask any question about PF track or anything, you can ask. No? Okay, fine. So what we'll do, everyone please install the software and do the practice. Okay. If anything is there, ask me in the next workshop. Otherwise, we'll do one full project on the next class. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Bye, guys. See you on next workshop class
Bye, sir.
on 19th. Yeah. Bye.
Hello, sir. You there?
Yeah. Tell me.
Sir, I'm not getting the software on that internet,
Mm,
that PR track,
PF track, not PR.
OPF track.
Yes, PF track.
PFTRACK.
Both are not in same line. PF and gap track.
Just a sec, sir. So see this. This is coming.
So PF track 2015 free download. The 15 version is there. So generally, I'm using the 5, which is 2000, say 10, 2010 version.
Okay, sir. So this will be the fine one, right?
This is the node base. So this will last day. I'll show you how to work in the node base software. So you can find it only the PF track version 5 or 4.
So sir, this one is okay, or I should?
It is fine. It is fine. If you want, you can work. It is like a latest
Okay,
version.
so thank
Like
you.
not many studios are working on it, basically.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Goodbye.
Okay. Bye.